This is an update. We wanted answers. It looks like a few answers have now been given in the case of a man who, according to his family, was hanging from a tree, Javion Magee. So put it up full mass. We got updates to share. So questions are still lingering over the death of Javion Magee after his body was found tied to a tree in rural North Carolina. In the week after his death, or since his death, authorities have released more details. His family is fiercely advocating for a thorough investigation. Authorities launched an investigation after locating his body in Henderson, North Carolina, Wednesday, September 11th. Follow the timeline. Vance County Sheriff Curtis Brain. Curtis, the sheriff, pushed back against rumors that Magee's death was the result of a lynching and told reporters that investigators found no signs of foul play. Quote, I understand there's over 1,000 hits on TikTok accusing the sheriff's office of not being transparent, not providing information to the family, and that is not true, Brain told reporters on September 13th. Quote, there's been information put out there that there's a lynching in Vance County. There is not a lynching in Vance County. The young man was not dangling from a tree. He was not swinging from a tree. The rope was wrapped around his neck. It was not a noose. There was not a tie in the rope. So therefore, it was not a lynching here in Vance County. Now, I want you to understand that the sheriff made multiple expressions of not a lynching, no lynching. But he did not make multiple proclamations about the fact, but there is still a man who's dead. There's a reason why the family doesn't trust the investigation, and I think their reason was justifiable. With millions watching and many people benefiting from this program called Indisputable, we just need 1% of the viewers to become a paid member so we can continue to bring this content to you. Now back to the show. On Monday, deputies released surveillance video, okay? This happened Monday from a Walmart that Henderson was shopping at. It shows him purchasing a blue utility rope in a self-checkout line the day before his body was found. Some readers pointed out Magee seemed to have a positive demeanor while leaving the store with the rope in hand. Remember, he's a truck driver, okay? Authorities revealed on Wednesday that the rope found on Magee's body was the same rope he bought from the Walmart. The video did little to quell the family's concerns. The family is saying that specific video does not declare the fact that this was a suicide. The family still suspects foul play at this point right now, but they really just want answers, says family spokesperson Candace Matthews. And that's something that we said here at Indisputable. They want to know from that timeline, from him purchasing that rope all the way to the tree where he was hung. At a press conference on Wednesday, lawyers for the family added that they're still investigating whether Magee's death was the result of a hate crime, saying, quote, any suggestion it's a suicide would be grossly premature. The family has shared that Magee had no history of mental illness. We shared last time he had no issues with a criminal history or criminal underworld. Now, using surveillance footage and GPS data, investigation pieced together a timeline of Magee's movement. And this was Henderson, September 10th. He made his delivery at the distribution center just after noon that day. He left the center at 4:53 p.m. At 6:11 p.m., he was seen walking into the Walmart. That's on North Cooper Road, behind the rope. He was seen walking into his hotel room at 6:28 p.m., talking briefly with a hotel clerk, and leaving the hotel in his semi-truck at 6:34 p.m. Just before 7 p.m., surveillance video shows Magee pulling into a dirt lot on Vanco Mill Road. getting out of his truck. He was getting in and out of his truck. He was also seen walking toward the wood line of the lot with an object. He's seen getting out of the semi for the final time at 7:30 p.m., walking toward the woods. Surveillance footage doesn't show him returning back to the truck. A 911 call was placed after 10 a.m. the next morning after someone found his body not far from where his truck was parked. Dispatcher, Vance County 911, what's your emergency? Caller, I have some guys out here mowing the grass. I got a man who hung himself in a tree. Dispatcher, the guy hung himself in a tree? Caller, yeah, he looks dead. He still got a rope around his neck. Autopsy results revealing Magee's manner and cause of death have not yet been released. A toxicology report is also pending. Authorities say Magee had no defensive wounds or scars on his limbs, including arms and legs. And there were signs of hemorrhaging detected around Magee's neck. According to a 2024 study by the University of Georgia researchers, Black men die at a rate 4 times more than Black women. The report also cited data from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention that shows that the second leading cause among death among African Americans between ages 15 to 24. Now, those are statistical data sets. That data doesn't know that man. The family does. And when you look at the Walmart video, he seemed actually quite cheery. He seemed positive. Spoke to the clerk, had a good conversation. Nothing seemed off about him, according to those who witnessed him prior to. The family still wants answers, obviously. But I do find it ironic, compelling, and really unprofessional that the sheriff's office came out with a conclusive, no, it wasn't a lynching. No. The family said, wait a minute, you didn't even have time to investigate. That doesn't make sense to us. And then later they said, if anybody has information that could solve this crime, call the Crime Stoppers hotline. Wait a minute, you just said it wasn't a crime though. This is why the family doesn't trust them, because they changed the story multiple times in front of them as they were getting their story together within the 48 hours before we got the story. All right, we still need conclusive answers. Jordan, this is a hell of a story, man. I mean, it obviously things don't seem to link up like you traditionally would see when somebody has a mental health issue and they're looking to unalive themselves. And then you have the sheriff's office completely negligent at best and malicious at worst. What say you?
I think what you said at the beginning is really important. You know, he's rushing out to say this isn't a lynching. This isn't a lynching. There's no lynching here. What he lacked and what the department lacked was sensitivity around somebody who is not with us anymore. And within that, there's a callousness toward a family who is certainly grieving, and you can see that in their behavior, in TikTok, a cousin or a relative made. All they want is answers and transparency, and all you're doing is going out and trying to cover yourself. It's totally backward priorities. You're there to protect and serve. You're serving this family in this instance. So I totally agree. It should have been handled totally differently. The one thing I did read, the News and Observer in Raleigh had an interesting piece breaking down this timeline. And for me, you talk about his demeanor when he's leaving Walmart. On his way out, after he purchased that rope, he was also seen on a security camera giving someone who is experiencing homelessness $228. And investigators tracked that person down, other witnesses down, and he reportedly said, I don't know how much this is, but if I had more, I would give it to you. To me, I think that shows this is somebody who has made that decision, unfortunately, and that's a permanent decision to likely temporary problems. Whatever he was dealing with, I'm really sorry. And you can see the hurt in his family, but that point to me showed that this is somebody who is just, that's what his next steps were, and he just, on his way out, he just was going to help somebody out. And that's tragic, because you see there is goodness within this person, and it would be better for his family, for him, for everyone if he was still with us. It's a very tragic story all around.
And that kind of heart and soul, that is what the family knows of him. And that's why it doesn't add up to the family. But just think about this, Jordan. If the sheriff would have done what an investigative authority should do, wait until making a conclusive report. And when you do have your conclusion after investigation, present it to the family first. Don't hold a damn press conference after you have been negligent in the investigation toward the family. All right, bring updates.